Perfect. Hello, everyone. And I want to thank first whole English AI Institute team for inviting me to talk about AI. I've been practicing and studying pedagogical innovations in the field of communication since I started my work at UMass Boston almost 12 years ago. And AI has been a natural extension of that passion and practice for me. Since AI was introduced into our lives, I don't know you guys, but it's something that keeps me awake at night. I'm cautiously curious about the implications of AI, and I've been experimenting with integrating it into my own work, the way I learn, think, and teach. So there is a lot to cover about AI, but today, for today's talk, I wanted to set three objectives. The first objective is to learn the capabilities and limitations of generative AI so we can start building AI literacy. The second one is practicing AI literacy skills by learning how to use AI tools in creative problem-solving projects. And finally, learn some key tips or guidelines for effective human AI iterative problem-solving process. So let's start with defining AI literacy. So what's AI literacy? AI literacy is the understanding and knowledge necessary for us to effectively use, evaluate, interact, and think with AI. So what skills can we put there? We can put knowledge about AI capabilities and limitations and ethical issues. We can definitely put knowledge about prompting AI and experience with prompting AI. And most importantly, I think we need to integrate critical thinking skills that are unique to our disciplines and how we use them to evaluate AI-generated outputs. So AI literacy is a new core job readiness skill. We should all be aware of that. We already know that AI is eliminating so many jobs, but we definitely know that AI will change every job fundamentally. So the ones that can adapt to the changes that AI will bring, the ones that can learn how to work and think with AI will replace those who can't. So I'm just speaking to our student, audience members now. If you were to go to a job interview after you graduate, now you will have to convince employers how effectively you can use AI tools and skills, and also what human enhancements you can integrate into those skills. So it's important to keep in mind that AI literacy is becoming one of those core job readiness or career readiness skills. So I mentioned the importance of learning about the main capabilities and limitations of AI. So let's first define what generative AI is. So we've been using traditional AI for a while now, right? So traditional AI are systems that use existing data to make some predictions, to make some decisions, or improve optimizations. But generative AI, as the name suggests, is different. So all the artificial intelligence systems that can create new content in the form of text, images, audio, video, based on patterns they learn in their training will be called generative AI. And you can see some of the ones that I highlighted here. For example, I'm sure several of you guys are already using these text generation AIs. They're also called large language models because they rely on large language models, or LLMs. I will refer to them. And most of my talk, I will actually focus on LLMs. So this is the definition of generative AI. And I think even though we are non-technical people, we should have a baseline understanding of how AI does what it does, what happens in its training process, so that we can make sense of its limitations and some of the key ethical concerns related to AI. So on this slide, you can see the basic training process for LLMs. So the first step involves gathering billions of human-generated text data from books, articles, websites, then these text data are tokenized. So what does tokenization mean? It means that we break down text data into small pieces that we call tokens. So it can be a word or a part of a word, and then these tokens are converted into numerical representation so that the model can process them. So the main model that is used in LLMs is called neural networks, and neural networks are computing systems that are inspired by human brains. So you can think of billions of interconnected nodes communicating with one another as they process information. And it's specific type of neural network that LLMs use is called transporters. Transporters are very important because they enable models to pay attention to different parts of text so that the model starts to recognize patterns, learn the meaning of words by looking at surrounding words. So transformers, during the training process, transformers learn through the text data by processing billions of text, tokenized text data, and it works on improving its internal weights so that it can predict the next token in the sequence. So I think that's a key kind of like term about LLMs, that it's sort of a super smart autocomplete machine because by looking at the patterns in the training data, it learns the grammatical rules, it learns how to infer the meaning of the words, and eventually learns how to generate probabilistically plausible and coherent text. So by no means LLMs are sentient. They're not aware of their own behavior or human behavior or language. They simply mimic human language. So when we know the way, the inner workings of LLMs, I think it's a little bit easier to make sense of the limitations and key ethical concerns about AI. I listed some of the limitations and key concerns here, but I think these topics need their own standalone talks and lectures, and we should have a multidisciplinary discussion about the AI limitations and ethics, especially with the presence of professors or experts in ethics. But today, I wanted to cover or preview some of these issues as they are very relevant to building AI literacy. So I categorize them into three groups. The first one is information ecosystem integrity, and bias amplification issues and fictional information are the two sides of the same coin. They both stem from LLM training data and also the lack of true understanding of these models. So as I mentioned before, to train LLM models, we need to use human-generated text data, right? And when we look at this text data out in the world, it's full of societal and cultural biases. It's also full of accurate but also inaccurate information. So whenever we use AI systems, whenever we prompt them to do a task for us, you can assume that they will bring in and a lot of the times accentuate those biases. And also, because of the inaccuracies in the training data, they may generate fictional or fabricated information, or they may simply combine accurate information together and create a fabricated information. So these are also called hallucinations in the area of AI. So whenever you hear AI systems hallucinate, it means that they can make up facts. So it's important that you verify the factual knowledge that you generate through AI systems. But in terms of bias amplification issues, this is a really important area, and there are already several studies that document how AI systems perpetuate these societal biases. For example, especially in the field of image generation AI, a study that analyzed 5,000 images generated by Stable Diffusion. They prompted the AI system to generate images of judges in the US, and AI generated, the AI generated images, the 3% of them were women judges, whereas when we look at the statistics, 34% of US judges are women. And you can see not only AI systems may perpetuate societal, disparities or biases, they can also take them to the extremes. So I think an important question we need to ask here when we're using or developing AI systems, is this something we want our information ecosystems to be shaped with? Do we want to be influenced by these fictional information or misinformation, and as well as these societal and cultural biases? So the second important key ethical issue I would like to talk about is it involves digital rights and data ownership. So unfortunately, a lot of the AI companies that provide AI systems are not very transparent about how they use user data, or why they store user data, how long they store them, or how they protect this data. So there are not many robust guardrails in terms of protecting user data. So that definitely poses an important privacy concern. And additionally, there are ongoing legal battles about violations of intellectual property rights, because a lot of the AI companies used data, whatever data they could find, to train their models. But a lot of this data comes from real people who created original works, right? You can, especially in the area of creative AI, you can see a lot of artists suing AI companies because they learned that their artwork was used to train these models. So we definitely need a regulatory framework in this area. As far as I know, the only regulatory framework that we currently have is the EU AI Act, which is the first comprehensive regulatory framework. And I'm hoping that US will follow, and soon we will have more kind of like regulatory frameworks to keep AI companies responsible and accountable. And finally, an issue that is very, I think, relevant to all our audience today, unethical AI use in academia. As AI tools and systems provide many opportunities for our students to learn or to think in different ways, unfortunately, it also allows them to complete assignments, write essays, take exams, and they lead to academic integrity violations. Unethical use of AI in higher education poses serious challenges for its implementation in higher ed. And I think it requires fundamental changes in our educational systems. But I think it also requires fundamental mind shifts in the way our students learn or prepare for the professional life after college. So I would like to use this argument as a segue to kind of like contextualize this discussion about implications of AI as a dialectical tension between AI literacy and AI dependency. I think unethical AI use in academia is a result of AI dependency, which I define as offloading all difficult, challenging cognitive tasks on AI systems. At the beginning, as students, you may feel like it's very convenient to use AI systems or tools to complete an essay or to complete an assignment. However, it's the opposite when we look at how detrimental AI dependency can be for for you to realize your full potential. You should strive for AI literacy because by cultivating AI literacy, you can improve your problem-solving skills. You can improve your creative thinking skills. As I mentioned earlier, once you graduate, everyone is going to know how to use AI tools. But what's important is how effectively, how critically you are using these AI tools. How are you combining your discipline-specific knowledge base with the AI outputs? How do you break down a complex problem and reframe it working with AI? And also, how do you adapt to new changes in the field of AI and use new capabilities of AI in different contexts? That's why I always recommend, and I'm trying to emphasize the importance of developing AI literacy rather than AI dependency. AI dependency is a very short-term goal, but in the long term, you should strive for developing AI literacy, as again, it's becoming one of the core job readiness skills. Okay, so now that we kind of laid the foundation for AI literacy, what it is, how LLMs work, and why we strive for AI literacy skills, I would like to guide you guys through how we can use AI systems and tools to creatively solve a real-life problem. I wanted to contextualize the talk within this because creativity and problem solution are always going to be unique human skills that we should cultivate, especially in the face of AI. And also, Paul English AI Institute is planning to organize a hackathon for our student teams who will be using AI tools to address a real life problem in their fields. And I thought this will be a great source for them. And let's talk a little bit about why we should use AI or work with AI to creatively solve a problem. First of all, AI can help us enhance our creativity. We can combine human insights with AI-generated solutions to come up with more innovative solutions for complex problems. It also allows us to improve efficiency and scalability, especially in terms of processing data, defining problems, and generating ideas. And finally, as I mentioned before, it really helps you gain competitive advantage compared to others to build AI literacy skills so that you can address real life problems. Once you graduate from college, regardless of your work, I don't think you're going to be asked to complete an assignment or an exam or an essay, right? You're going to be asked to deal with real life problems. So that's why it's important that we learn how we transfer what we learn in college, in higher education, into, real problem solving skills that we can utilize after college. So on this slide, you guys can see the double diamond design thinking framework that we can use to kind of map out the different phases of creative problem solving process. And on this diagram, you see the ebbs and flows of divergent and convergent thinking, both of which we need during the innovation process or creative problem solving process. So divergent thinking refers to cognitive processes where we engage in free flow of ideas. We try to generate as many ideas as possible without really limiting ourselves, without really evaluating the quality of ideas. Convergent thinking, on the other hand, is a cognitive process where we engage in more systematic, more logical thinking. And in this case, we're kind of evaluating the quality of our ideas, and we're trying to make some decisions using logic. So we can benefit from AI in all types of, to enhance both types of thinking in the creative problem solving process. So let's start with the first phase, which is the discovery phase. So in the discovery phase, you pretty much try to understand the problem domain. You try to learn as much as possible about the subject domain. And just to give you an example, I picked improving mental well-being of students from diverse backgrounds as the topic, as the problem I want to work with. So in the discovery phase, now we can use AI-powered research tools to collect data from reliable and credible sources. You can have access to research papers, news articles, or industry reports just to get a sense of, the current trends in this area or interventions that are currently being used. So some of the tools that I like using here are, I listed here, Perplexity, Consensus, Elicit. For example, Perplexity is a great tool because it allows you to have access to, any type of research paper or like a industry paper. But the cool thing is you can have a summary of ideas from these sources. For example, here I ask for, top 10 most frequently cited academic papers on this topic. And it generated several options for me to look through in terms of mental health and diverse student populations. And also it summarizes the key insights. And when you go down here, you can see the main takeaways. And I think it really, another cool thing here I like is that it gives you more questions to kind of, interact with. So it's another good example for how we can think differently by using AI tools. In addition to collecting data or collecting information, to kind of educate ourselves about the problem domain, we can also use AI. In this case, I will recommend LLMs to simulate stakeholder perspectives on the problem. Normally, in the design thinking process, you will right away need to, you need to do some desk research, preliminary research, but then you need to understand the problem by talking to people that you are, solving the problem for. So the cool thing here you can do is you can really refine that process and speed up this process by simulating some of those, data collection methods you will do in the field. So, for example, I can ask AI to simulate a stakeholder perspective table that right away tells me, some of the challenges that may be experienced in terms of addressing mental health from different, stakeholders' perspectives. For example, what are some of the issues for college leaders, administrators, faculty members? Again, I want to emphasize that we need to always double check the truthfulness of this information, but you can also see how it really enhances our efficiency and scalability when it comes to, collecting data and analyzing that data. So we can also use AI to, again, at the end of the day, you need to go out there and talk to, real people, target users, or for people for whom you're solving this problem. But you can draft and get feedback on data collection methods, what questions to ask people. Maybe you can check the, reliability or validity or quality of your survey items. So another way we can use AI, in this case, to enhance our convergent thinking processes, is to iteratively refine and evolve the problem statement based on discovered insights in the discovery phase. So in creative problem solving, it's really important that you solve the right problem and you frame the problem in a way that is actionable, that you can actually address that problem. So you can use AI as a collaborator here, as another pair of eyes to kind of reflect on your problem statement and possibly identify or challenge some of the underlying assumptions. For example, here, I used AI. I love using Cloud personally. And I entered the initial problem statement as how might we create a campus culture that will prioritize the mental well-being of students from diverse backgrounds. And I asked Cloud to provide me feedback about, how good this problem statement was, how actionable was it, how comprehensive or bias-free it was. And it gave me two ideas. It told me not to limit myself to the campus culture concept, but to think about student well-being is a multifaceted issue that should involve different aspects of the campus culture. So it kind of like nudged me to use the word campus ecosystem rather than campus culture. In addition to that, it gave me feedback about how the question kind of puts students in a more passive position by saying prioritizing the mental well-being of students. Instead of that, it recommended that I can take a more proactive action towards solving this problem. And in this case, it recommended that maybe instead of prioritizing prioritizing mental well-being, I can simply say enhancing mental resilience of students. So this may seem like a very trivial or simple, task, but when you are engaging in the phases of design thinking, redefining, reframing the problem takes up a lot of time and energy, and it's a very important component of the innovation process. And again, here we can use AI as a collaborator that can provide us a fresh perspective. I think my favorite way of using AI tools is to generate ideas. So in the developing ideas phase, ideation phase in design thinking terms. So we can use AI systems to combine and synthesize ideas in unexpected ways. We can also ask it to evaluate ideas considering unique criteria and constraints. Of course, at the end of the day, again, we are engaging in human AI iterative problem solving. So we need to bring all these outputs to our team meetings, filter them through our own, critical thoughts, and improve them with our own human insights and expertise, because AI can never understand the true context of our problem or the expectations of the users. So we need to work with it to kind of explain those aspects of the project. So here, I actually want to delve into prompting a little bit, because as I mentioned before, prompting is a very important part of building AI literacy. And I would like to share some prompting guidelines with you, and then maybe we can try them out using some of the AI tools. So I think the first important thing here, especially if you're not very sure about the context or the task, is to assign AI a persona. So rather than asking AI to give me some ideas or generate some ideas to address this issue, you can ask it to approach this problem from the perspective of a specific character. Do you want AI to solve this problem or address this problem as a faculty member? Do you want them to approach this problem as an innovation expert? Depending on the persona, it will kind of tap into different domains in its training data, and it will improve. You will have a more improved output. The second important thing is, I think, especially if you know what, if you want to have a very effective prompt, is to be very specific, descriptive, and detailed about the task you want AI to do, the context. Again, you need to explain what the context is. If there are, for example, any constraints you wanted to consider, or maybe if there are specific techniques you wanted to consider. Length, do you want it to generate 10 ideas? Format, do you want it in bullet points? Do you want it to write you a poem or an essay? And style, do you want it to approach it as like a, creative artist, or do you want it to approach from as if, write it like a business report? So these are all important things you need to consider when you're prompting AI. And finally, we never want to be satisfied with the first output, right? We want to ask for reiterations. And I like to emphasize this again. We're learning how to think with AI. So when you're prompting AI, don't think about just like I'm instructing a technology to generate an output for me. I'm actually engaging in a dialogue with a co-intelligence that can maybe teach me how to approach this idea differently. If you have that mindset, I think both the style and fluency of your prompting will improve. So I have some prompts here that I want to try and see what happens. So I mentioned that, we can use AI, and I think another cool thing is you need to think about how your outputs change, depending on the LLM you're using or the prompts you're using. I mean, I'm personally experimenting with AI tools, and I'm seeing what prompts improve my output, how outputs vary across different tools. So let's say I'm asking Cloud to generate some ideas for improving our campus ecosystem for mental resilience. Simple, right? Just like, no, I'm not really including any AI tips here. I'm just asking it to give me some ideas. And you can see here, there's a lot to, cover, but just, eyeballing these, I see comprehensive wellness programs, inclusive community building, academic support structures, physical environment enhancements, holistic student support. I think these are all plausible responses, but do they scream originality, creativity? I wouldn't say so, right? They're kind of like things that we've already probably been using. But let's see what happens if I assign AI a persona. I'm going to start a new chat because I don't want it to be inspired by what I already put in there, and see how the results will change. Now I'm asking AI to act like an innovation expert in higher education. And when I look at the responses, you can see it already changed quite a bit, right? You can see the AI system now integrating. I see a lot of technology enhanced kind of like solutions, mindfulness integrated curriculum, maybe resilience building workshops, AI powered early intervention. So I can see the results already improved. But I'm not satisfied with this, right? Because I simply asked it to act like an innovation expert and generate ideas. Now, I actually will use my own discipline-specific knowledge, okay? And I will create a very detailed descriptive context for AI. Here, I'm going to ask AI to generate 10 original ideas, but I will instruct it to use specific brainstorming techniques. First, I wanted to use forced analogies and use games, music festivals, and fine dining restaurants as its inspiration. And then I wanted to use by association techniques and combine ideas from this generated list. But I'm not, going to stop here. I'm also going to ask it, after you generate ideas, evaluate these ideas using desirability, feasibility, and viability as your criteria. I can add more to this context, right? For example, physical space is limited, budget is low, and let's see how the results will change. Again, there's going to be a lot of, text here that you need to go through, you need to evaluate. But just to show you how kind of finessing and refining your prompt changes the originality and quality of the outputs. And see, also these systems are so smart. They already know what forced analogies are. They already know what by association techniques are, and it already implements it. You see the results change quite a bit here. Now it just like offered me more creative, more original ideas. The resilience monopoly. It's not just a resilience workshop, but like a game-based, intervention based on music festivals, mindfulness stages. And you can see there are a lot of, different ideas that I can now build on, discuss, and critically analyze and see if I can enhance them to fit into my problem domain. Okay. And then it evaluates all these ideas you can see. And I also ask it to generate counter arguments, to critique its own ideas in a way. Okay. I'm not sure how we're doing with time, but I'm trying to. So another I showed you guys how you can use these AI tools to generate ideas, but we can also use AI to design prototypes. So prototypes, you can think of them as just like roughly what the solution will look like, right? So normally in the design thinking process, you design a rough prototype and you go to the field and you test this prototype or solution with the real people. We still need to do that, but the cool thing here, we can really refine our prototype, or we can see what it will look like and change it before we go and test it in the field. So we can use AI to design rough prototypes for solutions. We can also test these prototypes on AI-generated personas. So we can ask it to simulate what a specific group of, for example, in our, problem, how do you think an international student will navigate this intervention, or how a veteran student will experience this? So this will give me a lot of ideas about, how these students will differently approach this solution. And again, I think when we were talking about giving this talk, Changji told me how some of the students were worried they didn't have coding skills to use AI. But again, you don't really need coding skills to even create a rough prototype. Normally, without AI, you probably needed to do that. But again, I like using Cloud here because it can create a rough prototype for an app or a website in real life. You don't need the code. And I'm just going to look at these solutions here. For example, it listed a resilience road trip or resilience resource called cultural coping capsules, resilience reward program. So let's take this resilience reward program, and I'm going to ask Cloud to create an interactive app to represent resilience reward program, make it engaging and fun, but easy to navigate, and provide lots of options for students to choose from, and see what it comes up with. Sometimes it may ask me that I don't have the libraries they use, but generally it will just create a very simple app that I can interact with, or I can share with my users and they can reflect on it. And you can see here, it just writes the code in real time, and then it will show you the preview of what this app will look like. I don't know, it was like 5 seconds. Oh no. Okay. So normally this will come up here, but I already had created one thinking, again, technology, this may happen. I had asked Cloud to create a prototype for another, solution. And it just created that app for me. Here, for example, this is like what it looks like, mental health menu. This was another solution for the problem I entered. Okay. And I also ask it to make this solution more suitable for a veteran student. And you can see here, I created this using the exact same code that, just didn't work right now. But you can see the user can go here. You can look at what it will look like. you can navigate it, you can play with it, and you can prompt AI to improve this or change things depending on, what you need it to do. You can also, again, generate different personas and ask AI to iterate or reimagine the app from, by considering that feedback. So there's so many things you can do. We don't have time, to go over everything. But again, when it comes down to working on real project, I'm sure we will dig deeper. And finally, in the, delivery phase, we can use AI. Before we go and implement these solutions, we can create detailed implementation plans for our solutions and also simulate feedback from various stakeholders. Remember, at the beginning, we created a stakeholder perspective table. Now we can actually ask AI to tell us what those stakeholders will think about this solution. What are some pros and cons of it from the perspective of, school leaders, faculty members, and students. And that, again, you can refine these before you go to the field and implement these solutions. So right here, we talked about how we can use different AI systems to enhance both our convergent and divergent thinking processes during the innovation process. And the final thing that I want to share with you is we can use AI-generated visuals and videos for storytelling. At the end of the day, if you are working with a creative problem-solving project, you need to pitch these ideas to someone who's going to make the final decision. And I think without being professional artists or video makers, we can utilize the advances in image and video generation AI. These top 2 images, I just used a very simple prompt on Midjourney to generate a storyboard for an international student and what it will look like if they were to, experience this solution called Habitat Zones. And below here is a video I created on Runway. Again, an international student navigating the space on the campus and what it looks like. You see she's looking at her phone. She's in this kind of tropical garden and she's already feeling much better about herself. But these are still experimental, so you definitely need to play with them quite a bit. Okay. So we talked a lot about different phases of innovation process and how we can integrate AI systems to enhance creative problem solving. And these are some of the takeaways I would like you to think about as you also apply these ideas to your own fields of study or your expertise. The first important takeaway here is critical thinking is essential to successful human AI iterative problem solving. As I mentioned earlier, AI cannot solve real complex problems. So as someone who brings in advanced AI literacy skills, you can work with AI, you can think and collaborate with AI to break down problems into smaller tasks and then solve them. You also always need to bring in your own discipline-specific expertise and synthesize AI output with your own human understanding and experience. So that's why, again, whenever you have an option between AI literacy and AI dependency, I recommend that you choose AI literacy because in the long run, AI literacy will help you, kind of help you prepare for the real life after graduating. I think it's really important that we use AI-generated ideas as a springboard and consider local knowledge and the needs of target audience for final decisions. Because at the end of the day, we're solving these problems for real humans and AI doesn't have a real understanding of human experience. Or it also doesn't understand the constraints of the local domain. So it depends on how effectively you can instruct these to AI. AI can enhance efficiency and scalability, as I mentioned, with prototyping and idea generation, but we need deeper human understanding and knowledge. I think a couple tips here is to have bias-aware prompting. As I mentioned earlier, AI can amplify bias, and we don't want to further amplify it with our own prompts. So we need to explicitly ask for diverse viewpoints or challenge potential biases. And eventually, once we get AI-generated output, we need to actively look for biases again and inaccuracies in the output. And finally, we want to familiarize with ourselves with AI tools. That's what I've been doing, experimenting with tons of different AI tools, learning their capabilities and limitations, comparing outputs, and picking the suitable ones is very important, right? For example, if I want to learn up-to-date research about the public subject domain, I need to use AI that can, give me reliable sources. For example, Perplexity is good about this rather than ChatGPT, because it cannot generate sources. You can't verify them. Or if I want to prototype a solution, an app or a website, I may want to use cloud because it's, I think, more user-friendly. ChatGPT will generate code too, but you need to run it on a separate program. And again, we need to verify the accuracy of AI-generated facts and sources of information, and we need to use AI responsibly and ethically at the end of the day. Okay, so I just want to thank again Paul English Institute for giving me this opportunity to share my own experience with AI. And it's my hope that my perspective and insights on AI will inspire and encourage you. I see students in the audience and also faculty members to start using AI tools effectively, but also responsibly, while also keeping in mind the importance of cultivating AI literacy rather than AI dependency. Thank you so much.